is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to talk about Trump's indictment. He's, supposed to go in, I guess, tomorrow. And I wonder if they'll do a mugshot, because Trump wanted a mugshot before. And of course, they wanted a mugshot for, I'm sure, the same reason a lot of us want the mugshot, to put it on merch. But they wanted to fundraise and stuff off of it. But they didn't take one in the Bragg case, so they just made an image and started selling it and stuff. But it from certain stuff that came out in the indictment, a lot of people are concerned about it, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm concerned about it myself. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know what their defense is going to be. They could have a really good jury and and lay out the facts, and who knows, maybe people will be like, this is just too much to even do, because it's taking the country in a direction that we've never really gone before. But if the things in the indictment laid out are true, he made some not good decisions, guys, and it doesn't matter how much you like him. That's just the truth, and I really wish he had just given those records back. People obviously take records and have remove records, like Mike Pence, and of course Joe Biden has been criticized for taking records, and neither of those people were president at the time when they took those records. But Trump said some things that are interfering with maybe some different arguments they could have made in his defense. So we'll talk about that. Also, there's a video of Daniel Penny, the Good Samaritan, as some people would say, but a murder, other people would call him a murderer, and he has been arrested. He was on the subway, and there was the man who was threatening passengers, so he's the one who put him in the chokehold. So he put out a message, and so told his kind of side of the things of the story that happened. So I wanted to play that and share that. Also, California has made some pretty radical moves as far as gender ideology stuff, which no shock there, but they've been making moves so that if parents are kind of caught up in between of, are they going to affirm and not affirm, that let's say there's a dispute between two parents and one wants to give them surgery and another one doesn't, that courts have in different positions favored the parent who would affirm the child. Well, California is taking the position that affirming a child is just the right thing to do. And I have a wild clip to share with you guys, because it's just so antithetical to everything we know about raising kids and kids in general, but people are so gung-ho on this ideology. Also, I mentioned on YouTube, there was a clip that I saw of a teacher who was making a math class watch a pride video and actually threatened the students when they said something pushing back. And so there's a lot of things to get through today, so I won't delay you any further. Besides, before we jump into it, I do have to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. Check out different merch that we have at the store on the website. Of course, we have the my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, available. We also have I have other books as well. I have a lot of fiction books that I've written that you guys can check out. But I also have stuff like the You Are Not That Special. Got those on cute little mugs as well. I got the Trump Crack is Whack shirt. Since Biden and them were giving kits for drug use to people and stuff. Got the black tea mugs and other stuff you guys can check out. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. Cost of stream, run my website, all the good stuff. So if you can support in that kind of way, I very much do appreciate it. if you're watching on YouTube, you can give not stars. Stars is Facebook. YouTube will be super chats. And I do want to say thank you to everyone who wished me happy birthday over the weekend. Thank you to people who did, donate over the weekend. I think that birthday was a little extra incentive to people, but it's very much appreciated to folks, just in people who watch, people who share, people who comment. And my sister was, having conversation about when she watches the lives and there's a new person who jumps in and everyone's like, welcome, and it just kind of feels like a bit of a community and stuff. So I'm very thankful to my audience and my subscribers, my followers, etc. I do want to say that if you like what I do here, please make sure that you're following me across different platforms, because social media, you guys know that I talk about hot button topics, and they're not always okay with certain content that we discuss on this program. So make sure that you are, if you're watching on Facebook, you may not like YouTube, but please follow me on YouTube if you have a YouTube. Or I do have a Rumble. Like, all these links should be in the description of my Rumble, my TikTok, my Twitter, all of them. So just take a second and make sure that you're following them, and go to the website and make sure that you drop in your email. I don't spam you guys with emails. I should probably send out more emails, as a matter of fact, but go ahead and drop in your email, and so you can know when a good article or interview or something is coming out. So please go ahead and make sure that you guys you have the information across the different platforms. I heard Michael Knowles, for example, was he's on like a week. I think him and Candace Owens are both like banned for like a week from posting, and I've been there before. I've my dings have been for COVID related stuff, and I've had temporary suspicions that they lifted over like election stuff, and I had to go write to YouTube like, Joe Biden is the president of the United States. And then I don't know what certain words flagged or whatever and they'd be like, well, got me a suspension or whatever. But I don't even think they really check stuff after I wrote my appeal. And I think I just needed to say the magical words of Joe Biden is the president, and they were like, okay. And I don't know, like, as if that's some kind of pledge of fealty or something like that. But just please make sure that you guys are following across different platforms. And also, on a side note, I did have a very good birthday weekend. Thank you to my sisters, my family, my brother, and my parents. And I had a good time, good weekend. So give me one moment. My phone is ringing. I thought I turned off my ringer. So I don't know if you guys hear that in the background. But yeah, just thank you again, and check out different content that I have in support. So thank you very much. So anyway, Trump indictment, a lot of things aren't looking great. I don't know what all the defense will say. Of course, he's innocent before, he has a presumption of innocence. Indictment, there's some stuff in it that doesn't look great. So Bill Barr has been had some comments over the weekend that a lot of people are talking about, which a lot of people are denouncing. And Trump certainly had comments about Barr himself, but I think there's some stuff in there that don't look great. So I'm going to go ahead and play Barr's reaction, and we will go from there. But there's some stuff in there that's not
argument that comes up for the president's allies and his legal team that this should have been handled under the Presidential Records Act, not this Espionage Act charge and other federal statutes that were used here.
Well, it started out under the Presidential Records Act and the archives trying to retrieve documents that Trump had no right to have. But it quickly became clear that what the government was really worried about were these classified and very sensitive documents. I was shocked by the degree of sensitivity of these documents and how many there were, frankly. And so the government's agenda was to get those, protect those documents and get them out. And I think it was perfectly appropriate to do that. It was the right thing to do. And I think the counts under the Espionage Act that he willfully retained those documents are solid counts. Now, I do think we have to wait and see what the defense says and what proves to be true. But I do think that even half what Andy McCarthy said, which is if even half of it is true, then he's toast. I mean, it's a very detailed indictment. And it's very, very damning. And this idea of presenting Trump as a victim here, a victim of a witch hunt, is ridiculous. Yes, he's been a victim in the past. Yes, his adversaries have obsessively pursued him with phony claims. And I've been at his side defending against them when he is a victim. But this is much different. He's not a victim here. He was totally wrong. That he had the right to have those documents. Those documents are among the most sensitive secrets that the country has. They have to be in the custody of the archivist. He had no right to maintain them and retain them. And he kept them in a way at Mar-a-Lago that anyone who really cares about national security, their stomach would churn at it.
So, from the indictment, assuming the things in it are accurate, which there are text messages and there are pictures and all sorts of things, and there's people testifying who were his lawyers and stuff. So he didn't handle them well, and he didn't handle them well even at times when where the obstruction is coming in. They wanted the documents back, and the lawyers we're like, well, show us what you have, and then we'll tell them that you turned it in or whatever, but we saw it all and we're turning it in. And then Trump was like, okay, but then he let them see the stuff, but then he had moved some of them. So his lawyers could be like, oh, this is everything, but then it wasn't everything. And there's even some talk in the indictment, like relating to kind of Hillary Clinton-esque stuff as well. But the big thing that people are talking about as far as something being really bad in the indictment is there's a recording, and I haven't heard it. I don't know if anyone has heard it yet. I don't know. People are just going off with like the transcript and stuff. But that Trump was having a conversation about the documents, and he had it, and he said basically let it be known that it was secret information. So this idea that and he said I could have declassified them, but I didn't declassify them or whatever. So he's holding something that is in his mind, I guess, not declassified. Now the argument about them being his records, and he has the power, which he does have the power to declassify things, or I guess some people would argue about that, but I guess would argue that he does. But and you could still argue that he was wrong verbally in that moment, and it was declassified if he took them or whatever. I don't think that's going to hold up if that's the route anyone's going, but he's saying that the record itself that he had, that he's like waving and showing to people, is not declassified. So guys, it's not great. It's not great. So Bill Barr saying that this was him saying he's not a victim and this isn't a witch hunt. Obviously they've been going after him from even before he took office. But he's done wasn't wise for him to do. And he should have just gave him back when they asked for the records. He really should have. And there's sensitive information in there, not just about our things about the US, but also other nations as well. And it doesn't look great for us and for our allies and people kind of watching and observing this story so around the world. So I like to tell you all that it's a big nothing burger. But I think he could be in trouble, guys. I don't know. I don't like to predict these things. I don't think I'm great at it. So I don't know what will or won't happen. He could get a good jury. They could make the case that, other people like Biden has obviously mishandled documents as well and wasn't the president. And he has records that he should not have had, did not have the authority to take. And that's true. There's definitely a double standard. No one is denying that there's like a double standard. And Hillary Clinton obviously was not prosecuted by Comey. On Friday, we talked about, a little trip down memory lane. I love the clip on CNN when there's a Trump surrogate who's talking about all the things that Hillary Clinton and her team did at the State Department and how they were destroying Blackberries with hammers. And Brooke Baldwin, it was like, wait a second. Hammers, fact check that on the fly, because she just can't conceive that they would do that. And it's just assuming that, I guess, the Trump person has to be lying about it. And then the CNN fact checkers just like, yes, they were destroying it with Blackberries and the Blackberries with hammers and stuff. And her eyes just kind of like, if you haven't seen the clip, and I saw it today on TikTok, I meant to like grab it, but I showed a little snippet when we watched our 50 Reasons video for Hillary Clinton on Friday, but it's pretty darn incredible. So they did crazy things, and Hillary Clinton is just like, she's posting stuff, her hat that says butter emails, mocking the situation, saying what Trump is doing is far worse, even though Comey's like, no, our enemies probably have sensitive information because Hillary Clinton had these servers that weren't secure enough and that she shouldn't have really had. And I'm like, isn't this like intent right here, kind of? But they made up a standard to basically get her off. So if all these other folks get off, it's from a political standpoint, is that going to be like Trump's legal defense? They're all going to, point to other examples where other folks got off of it for stuff that they're accusing him of. That's a route I'm sure they'll go, in an argument that they will make. But he didn't handle the documents great, if the things in the indictments are true. And it's okay to say that if it's true. Now they have to prove all these things in the court of law. They have to prove all these, and we're still like really early into everything. So we don't know where it's going to go. But Trump is such an interesting figure, because they've done all these things that were witch hunts. They've gone after him with the Russia hoax, and there was never like evidence, but they were like, oh, this, we have the smoking gun, or they would say stuff, and like Adam Schiff would pretend like he saw damning stuff, and then you had all these other like former CIA guys and stuff who were going on, CNN and MSNBC, just pretending like any day now. It just never happened. It just never occurred. And all this stuff was like, the beginning seeds were planted by Hillary Clinton herself. And it just really seems like there's no justice in the world if they all get away with this stuff and Trump does get indicted. But the thing about Trump, though, is that these people were obviously after him from jump. So he pretty much should have been like squeaky clean, as wise as possible, not talking so much, but he doesn't always have the best judgment. And especially knowing that his life has been under a microscope, he should have been handled this stuff better, guys. And it just makes my stomach sick thinking about all this stuff. I have no idea what's going to happen to him. No idea. And with the counts on him, he could spend his last days in jail if he is convicted, like the end of his life. On Friday, we talked about how Trump basically got impeached the first time for targeting a political opponent. And so I saw an interview with Vivek on it was with Dana Bash on CNN. And I thought he did a really good job in his interview. And he mentioned the fact that they didn't really even address the Presidential Records Act in the indictment. To him, it came off as political. He I thought he did a good job going back and forth with her, but I I don't know much what else much to say until I'm curious how they're going to rebut it, but he made some boo-boos, guys. He just did. And I wonder how much his adversaries know as far as like his political rivals, because I don't know, from what I heard about DeSantis, it was willie or won't he, and a lot of people were very concerned. The big concern I think for people was if you could manage to beat Trump in the primary, which Trump's still like above 50%, by the way. Um, what would happen if they got the nomination? Would Trump just kind of, go along with it? Um, and Trump was hinting like he wouldn't just, support the nominee. And if he didn't support the nominee and the people who really, really support Trump don't support the nominee, then Joe Biden's going to win anyway. So, if they were aware that these indictments were coming, and that maybe there's information that was pretty damning for Trump, and they're like, it's my moment to strike because he's going down. That would be pretty interesting if how much I'm curious how much of a factor that wasn't to people deciding to jump in the race. And I think there'll be other people who will probably jump in if this gets uglier. Um, I don't know if we'll see a lot of repeats from like 2016 jumping in, like Rubio or other folks like that, but maybe like some governors who aren't like super conservative to kind of be like that anti-Trump candidate, you know. So but I don't but on the same vein, I don't think they'll go anywhere. Maybe they know that and that's why they won't jump in. But we'll have to see where this goes, guys. But I I wish she'd handled things. I wish she wouldn't have made these errors to make people have some kind of grip on him, knowing that they hate him so much. They hate him so much. So people don't want to see him go down because we know he's been targeted and harassed nonstop. There are people saying that, I don't think I actually showed this clip of Schumer on Friday when we talked about it. I was thinking about it over the weekend. I'm like, I don't think I actually showed this clip. Let me see if I can pull this up. But there's a clip of Schumer talking about here it is right here, about how the intelligence community will screw you if you talk about them.
This antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community.
Hold on, let me replay that. Go back a bit.
Taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
So it's kind of eerie. I mean, at the time, they have a way of screwing you. I think that's not anything that we're unaware of, though, or speculate whether. I mean, there's some real life cases of, there's a TV show Suits that used to come on USA, and I never watched the show live, but I watched it, maybe about a year or two ago. Binge watched the whole thing. Really did enjoy the series, but there's obviously some things in it that aren't realistic. But one of the things I thought was probably the most unrealistic things about the series is it's a show about lawyers, and sometimes they would bump up against like the Justice Department or something like that, and or attorney generals or something, in the stories, and the the law, the people who work for the government or something, they would go too far on something, and then they'd be like, we're gonna get you, aha, we've nailed you for going too hard on the malicious prosecution or something like that, and like, we're gonna get you for this, or we're gonna get you for that, or sometimes the judge would threaten, like, we're gonna get you for this, or they feared that so much. And I'm like, I don't, maybe this is a cynic in me, because I can't say I've looked at some data for this, but to me that just felt like, that doesn't feel like reality. That doesn't feel like reality. That they would just be put in their place, you know, like that, in fear of, like, oh, I'm gonna, the hammer's gonna really come down on me because I've gone too far with my government authority. It didn't feel like that was honest. Didn't feel like that was honest. But we'll continue watching the story and see what else comes out. But some of the details in the indictment, I think, kind of undercut maybe some of the things, that talking points that we've been saying, and things that Trump folks have been saying. But I think this is really bad for the country, for where we're going. And this has a different precedent. Someone in the comments said that Trump is like finished and he should have went after his enemies earlier. And I was in the rallies and stuff when people were yelling, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up, talking about Hillary Clinton and stuff. And after Trump was nominated, by the way, I didn't like chant that stuff, but I was, on the crowd and stuff. But there was he came back to Michigan for like it was like a I won, thank you for voting for me rally. I think it was like literally a thank you rally. And I think people started like chanting lock her up, and he was just like, no, that's enough. That's good. Like, it was one thing when, during the campaign, but so he just kind of let it go. And then he had an interview. I don't remember which news network, but he was asked about Hillary Clinton, if they're going to go after her. And he's just like, no, he's like, I don't want to hurt her or anything like that. He didn't have malicious intent for her. I guess at that point in time, he just kind of thought of it as, you did your thing, I did my thing, but I won. and we're going to move on. And that maybe that was a bit of his naivete, just being in the space. And I feel like Democrats feel like you should have that attitude if you're Republican, like, I won, you lost, etc. Get over it. But Democrats don't get over it. And so maybe sometimes they do to a degree, but they really never got over him winning. And they just started laying, scheme after scheme after scheme. And Trump can definitely create some problems for himself, but the way that they've gone after him has just been so crazy. Like the impeachment, they basically impeached him the first time anyway for going. The main complaint was he was going after his political opponent and targeting his political opponent. And Vivek, when he was talking to Dana Bash, they were talking about, he kept mentioning that Joe Biden in Merrick Garland, and Dana tried to insist, like, oh, but Joe Biden put like 2 layers in between him and Trump. Hogwash. Like, they still have to push this through, sign this off or whatever. And if they wanted to go away, they could make it go away. Now, I do think it'd be interesting if Joe Biden, I don't think he's going to do this. I talked about this before when the other indictment came out. I don't think this is going to happen. I just kind of want to throw it out there in case it did happen. and I think it would be a smart move if it did happen. But I think it would be a good move if Joe Biden did just say, I'm going to pardon Trump. Because that takes Trump, still going to run. And I guess he could run regardless of being prosecuted in anything. Anyway, but he could still run. But he's good. Biden would take a bit of the wind out of his sails, because you can say, like, oh, he was, maliciously prosecuted or going after the DOJ, blah, blah, blah. But Biden was like, no, we can't do this. Like, he's a former president. This is going to be bad for our country, and we have to come together. And I'm Americans should make I'm trusting Americans to make the right decision and not support Trump in the future. But this is for the good of the nation. I'm going to pardon him or whatever. Some kind of rhetoric like that. And then it makes him look like he's the adult in the room. And people on the left are going to vote for him anyway, but there's people in the middle see a lot of crazy stuff and going on, and they maybe supported him as the adult in the room or thought he'd be the adult in the room. And I don't think Biden has done much adulting. So if he can like maybe regain that a bit, maybe that would score him a couple points. But again, I don't think he would do this, but I do think it would be I do think it would be a good move for the nation, I guess, altogether. And I do think they could always just not prosecute him, but it would be a good power flex politically. I think if Biden did that, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. Democrats always accuse their enemies of what they are doing. That's true. That's true. That's true, but Trump should not give them any inch for them to run a mile. I don't know how it's gonna turn out, guys. We'll just have to keep monitoring the situation. Next, moving on. California is a really weird place right now, guys. And I guess it's not new information, but over the weekend I had mentioned that I saw this video of a teacher, and people were saying that this was in a conservative area when they at least were growing up. But there's a teacher at Edison High School who's a math teacher. Parents were saying this math teacher played this video, and you can see in the video, hopefully the audio's like fine enough for you guys to understand, but the students start, grumbling, and then she threatens them with Saturday detention.
Wow, Miss Clark. Wow. Why are you showing this to kids?
Hey, I'll warn you guys now, if you're going to be inappropriate, I will have supervision down and give all of you a Saturday school for next year. So knock it off.
Okay.
So some people were like, Saturday detention. I guess that's a thing that they do in California, because some people are like, is this a John Hughes movie? But I guess they still kind of do that and stuff in California. So somewhere in my comments, I had mentioned something about Cracker Barrel had, and I thought this was so dumb, a Cracker Barrel, because I'm like, know your audience, bruh. And so Cracker Barrel, I guess, had posted a photo of just had some kind of pride message, and they had a photo of a rocking chair that had the different rainbow colors and stuff. So people were upset about it. And when I posted, there's people like, oh no, I got to boycott, Cracker Barrel, that wasn't my purpose of sharing the photo. My purpose of showing the photo was just like telling people that people are upset about it. And this is really dumb for companies to do. Now, they care about their social credit scores or whatever social pressure, whatever is going on. But at the end of the day, is your customer not king? And what happens if your customers decide just to not go to your restaurant anymore? So someone in my comments was like, I don't know why they follow me, because they said they disagree with a lot of stuff. Not that you can't follow me if you disagree with stuff, but they said that we need pride. And so they were going back and forth with someone, but they's like, we need Pride Month because there's kids being kicked out of their houses by their parents, and listed some other things. And I'm like, but is that really what Pride Month is about? I mean, because people say, oh, it's about love is love. Well, first of all, people don't believe that. People like love is love. It's like a circular sort of nonsense thing. Like a woman is a woman, or a woman is whoever identifies as a woman or whatever. It's just a silly kind of phrase, but people don't believe that just because you love someone. And what do you even mean by love? But if you have just because someone has deep affection or what they call love, and they toward someone or something, you can't just be like, well, love is love. What if it's two brothers or two sisters, or a brother and sister, or a father and daughter, or something like that? Or I would say multiple people in relationships, but that seems to be on the rise. People supporting, threesome or thruples and quartets and all kinds of different stuff. So that's getting a rise from people supporting relationships with more than two people. It's people supporting relationships with people with just themselves nowadays. And I'm like, if you need a day to celebrate someone you love, that's we call those anniversaries. We call those Valentine's Day. All kinds of love. You got Mother's Day and Father's Day and all. There's all sorts of days already to celebrate people in your life that you care for. But if you're celebrating your pride, I mean, that's about your sexual orientation. So it is about, who you like to bang. That is kind of weird. And it's weird to involve so many children in that as well. You could say, well, it's about that we're like everyone else. And I don't, if you have like, if you're flying flags, which apparently we're doing that now at the White House. Biden's social media page had posted, and it's not just the pride flag. It's the inclusive flag with the trans thing and the black and the brown in it too, for I don't know, racial stuff, equity or whatever as well. So the trans ideology stuff is in there as well as who people like to sleep with. So this is flying with our other flags on the White House. And I was thinking, I didn't message this person yet, but if the point of Pride and why we need Pride Month is so that parents don't kick their kids out of their house and other stuff like that, or to be more accepting and loving, is this the way? Because it kind of looks like people are being conquered. Or that's probably how people like feel. Like, is this how you treat everybody like everybody else? Because there's a lot of ways that you can represent other people that's not hung and displayed, on the White House, in the White House like that. They care about this issue more, seems like, just about more than any other issue. I mean, if I had to list Joe Biden's top priorities, I think it would be trans kids, limiting guns, and abortion rights. That's what kind of seems like the top priorities are in his administration. It seems like. So I've seen quite a bit of videos from people who are gay, lesbians, even trans people who are like, this is too much, especially how they're involving the kids. And talking about involving the kids, California is a state that's basically wants to be like a sanctuary state of people being able to come and affirm themselves. And there's a bill that's going on right now that's going to make it so that you really need to affirm your kids. And so here's a bit about the discussion of this bill.
So this particular bill adds the very important factor that affirming a child's gender identity is in their best interest, which is what your question is about. Why does it actually say that in an affirmative way? And it really is because if you have a 7-year-old who's talking about having a potential to say, being able to articulate that they believe that they are not the same gender as they are biologically, then it should be affirmed. And through care, it should be determined. And that's what we did with our own child. And that would give the ability for a parent who wasn't sure to affirm and get their child the care that they need to make that, so they can begin to articulate that determination. But by saying and rejecting it in wholesale, then you're essentially rejecting your child. And that is not in the best interest of a child. We should be affirming our children in every possible way and getting them whatever appropriate care they need, whether it's based on their gender, whether it's based on how their studies are in school. It doesn't matter. Our children should be affirmed. And this is saying that you have to include gender affirmation as a part of it.
So they're talking about Bill AB 957. So we're talking about parents potentially being able to lose Well, the fear is that parents will be able to lose custody if they don't go along and affirm. They believe that that is the way that you care for your child. I saw a video today of a parent who has a 4-year-old, and their son, they were in the, just hanging out or whatever in his room or whatever, and the 4-year-old was like, "Daddy, I want to be a girl," and he's like, "No, you don't." He's like, "Yes, I do, Daddy. I want to be a girl." And the reason why this 4-year-old wanted to be a girl is because his sisters were in a room together and they were saying it's an all girls room. And I guess he wasn't allowed in at the time. And so kids don't know what they're asking all the time. They don't know what they're saying all the time. They don't know what they mean all the time. You know, if you ask them like, what does it mean to be a girl? What does it mean to be a boy? What do you mean that you feel like you're a girl? Or whatever. They wouldn't be able to quantify that. There's adults who can't quantify that, have no idea what to say. The whole beauty of Matt Walsh's What is a Woman documentary is that it's just a simple question and they can't answer it because it just crumbles their whole entire ideology. Sometimes I'll ask people about like, do you have a definition of what a woman is that doesn't sound like just make believe nonsense? Because they'll just, well, whoever, a woman is whatever you feel like. And I'm like, how is that any different than a child saying that they feel like Spider-Man? And with Into the Spider-Verse, so there being so many, who's to say we're wrong? Anyone could be Spider-Man nowadays. So do you have a definition that's not a circular argument? And in the documentary, like people did not have an answer. He asked people on the street. He asked people who were, teaching in schools. He asked professionals who were prescribing puberty blockers and doing surgery and all kinds of different stuff. And people didn't have a good answer for him. And people still don't have a good answer for him. People will have a lot of gobbledygook sometimes, but it still pretty much comes down to like some kind of circular argument, because they don't want to say adult, female. they don't want to go that route. They don't want to go that route, because it just crumbles up their whole entire ideology. But if a woman is just whoever feels like a woman, or a girl is just whoever feels like a girl, or boy is whoever feels like a boy, then these it's just gobbledygook nonsense that doesn't really mean anything. So, as I said at the top of the hour, there's been cases where parents have lost custody of their kids because they did not affirm them. And if you're saying we need Pride Month so parents don't kick their kids out of the house, what about these parents that are like going to lose the custody of their children if they don't let them take hormones, if they won't, I don't know, buy them a pink unicorn sparkle, whatever, if they don't let them dye their hair, if they don't call them the pronouns or use a different name or whatever? That's pretty messed up, guys. I think we've gone a little too far too quickly. Ben Shapiro was talking about how he convinced his wife to leave California because he said we're going to be unable to raise kids with our values here. And he had like a timeline, and he's like, my timeline was too generous because this is the deterioration is happening so quickly. It's happening so quickly. But people ask, like, why are you so gung-ho about this stuff? Why are you such a stickler? Why can't they come in the bathrooms or whatever? Because men and women are different. And we have to continue with that distinction. And if you start giving up these cracks in the wall, it doesn't make sense for people not to be able to breach it. And if you get to the point where it's just, people's feelings and you have to accept it, why wouldn't it get to this point? If they're really a girl because they say they're a girl, or a boy because they say they're a boy, and they need to be affirmed, what's going to happen when that's just the way that it's supposed to be, and these activists enforce it in the laws, and you're sitting in front of a judge and you're concerned that you're going to lose your child if you don't let them self-harm in this kind of way and potentially leave them sterilized, or lead to a point where they could be sterilized and chop off their healthy organs. What's going to happen? Are you like, Christina, are you talking about slippery slope? It's more than a slippery slope. Like, we're talking about what's happening right now. We're talking about what's happening right Now, you're either born a girl or you're born a boy. You could have, genetic, mutations. That's true. But sex is binary and it is what it is. I understand what they talk about trans women, trans men, etc., but no one is actually transitioning. You can go ahead and have surgery and hormones and all that stuff. And you may look pretty darn passable, especially the younger that you do it. It doesn't change what you are, though. And if we start easing up on that, I think we've eased and been too lax on it. And now we are rapidly at this place in this moment where there is a trans flag, inclusive flag flying at the White House. That's where we are. That's where we are. So when is enough? And there really is a big difference between the sexes. I want to show this video that's Libs of TikTok posted, and it's gone pretty viral. And it's of a trans man talking about how terrible it is to be a man, or he didn't know, or they didn't know, sorry, how difficult it would be. And physically, this person has pulled off a pretty good male look. You just got to watch it if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, because definitely very, very feminine energy that's being given off here.
Lonely.
Let me go ahead and restart this.
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. I had closer friendships with random women I met in the bathroom before I transitioned at clubs because of how open women are than I've had in my 8 years of transitioning. Because women are just so much more vulnerable and deep than men. But to have known, and I think a lot of trans men feel this, is we knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to have people want to hug us. And to have people want to talk to us. And to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build. And people are colder. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid.
Okay, why all of a sudden did this person just throw white men under the bus? Pouring their heart out. And all of a sudden, it's very valid how women feel about cis white men. Okay, why not cis men? Is it because you feel uncomfortable saying all men? You feel uncomfortable calling out Black men, Hispanic men, etc.? Because women who are in vulnerable situations, and maybe there's an intimidating guy, it doesn't matter if they're white or Black or whatever. There's definitely been moments I can say in my life when I was concerned and that person was an cis white man. So all this crying, all this vulnerability going on, and at the end of the day, you still had to throw men under the... It's so hard being a man, but it's very valid if you hate cis white men. Very valid. But to the feelings, we'll play the rest of the video, but I did want to know about the bathroom thing. This person noted how easy it is for women to make friends in the bathroom. it's small talk. It's not, you don't just go make a friend in the bathroom usually, but women do more in the bathrooms. They socialize in the bathroom. They'll do their makeup, maybe change, all kinds of different stuff. Dudes, I don't know what you all do in there, but it just, from my understanding, just kind of seems like you guys go in there to take a leak and you're done. You know, maybe you might do some goofy, weird stuff sometimes. I don't mean like sexual, just like, I don't know, write your name in the urinal, something. I don't know. I don't know what you do in there. But women, you know, we take some time sometimes in the bathroom. So when people are like, well, why should, you know, why can't we let mix the bathrooms? Men and women are different. Men and women are just different. Let's keep watching. Because they're gonna say some other stuff.
But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men. Because this shit is lonely. And I'm an emotionally mature man. I know how to build friendships, and it is still really, really hard. Try to think about how you can, in your small little community where you feel safe, can reach out to the men in your life and just help them feel maybe seen for a moment. Or do little conversations to help their emotional maturity so that they can reach out to people and have deeper guy friendships.
So she goes on to say that she's an emotionally mature man, or maybe you're just a woman. And I'm not saying there aren't men who don't cry. My dad is a big crier. My dad is a crier. But he cries like, you know, pride in his children, you know, you know, deep love and like parent teacher conferences. My teachers would say such nice things about me. You know, he'd have pride in his eyes, and you know, you might see a tear when he thinks about his father, who died when he was in college, you know, stuff like that. Men can cry, and he's very masculine, very macho. Not a beta at all in the least. So men can cry, but if my dad, I gotta show this video because I can imagine the faces that he'd be making in response to this. But and it can be I think men are mistreated in our world. And as a matter of fact, I wrote an article about a man who was upset about his girlfriend who had an abortion, and and he was thinking about breaking up with her, and because he just didn't know how to move on. Like, he still liked her, but he didn't know how to move on with the fact that she had done this to her child, and had like so many mixed feelings about it, and so many people crapped on him. And said he had no right to feel that way, that she was too good for him, and no wonder why she wanted to kill his baby and didn't want to have his baby. Just said the most vile things to him. And I've seen women, you know, just dump on other men like that because they really feel like they have no say, no place. But I'm like, it's one thing if you feel like they should have no say, but they're not even entitled to their emotions about you killing their progeny, because it is their child, right? So I think that's enormously cruel, that we're conditioning men to basically be okay for women to do this, even push them and support them in doing this. And it seems like we have more respect for the guy who'll be like, oh yeah, you got to do this, let me pay for this and take care of it, and that'll kind of pressure a woman and not, you know, try to talk it out or whatever. Like, we'll have more respect for that person than the guy who's like, this is my child, I really don't want them to be killed. Like they have no say to do that. And we're talking about fathers. So I think we're really, really, really cruel to men, especially men in those kind of situations. If you're a no good dog, that's one thing. If you're like a loving father and you want to take care of your kids and make sure that you get to hold them one day, bad person. One time I saw an article about that was complaining about homelessness, and it was like 1 in 5, or the statistic isn't right, but or maybe right, but it was like something like 1 in 10 women or something like that are homeless, and it was complaining about that number. And it's like, you don't care about the fact that so many men are homeless out on the streets. You only care about how women, there's only like two options, so why don't we care about both of them in this situation? Why are you just complaining about the ladies here? So I think men get overlooked and passed over all the time with their feelings. And I don't know how hard it is for men to develop relationships in real life. It seems like if you're on TV or something, they don't want men to have relationships unless they're like gay. It seems like they're always shipping two dudes to be together, if they're friendly or whatnot. But I don't know. You can let me know in the chat if you're experience. I think it's hard just in general, maybe because people are so chronically online. I mean, Abigail Schreier wrote in her book about how, in the 90s, or, I guess even just 2000, it was different. Like, you go and hang out at the mall on the weekends with your friends and stuff. And now it's just, maybe you'll go to the mall, but you're on your phone, not really engaged. But a lot of people are so chronically online that we don't have the same kind of human connections that we used to. So I think there is a lot of loneliness in the world in general. I'm really introverted. I don't mind being alone. Like, I not that I don't want to ever not be around people and talk and do different stuff, but I'm very comfortable if I'm in my own space. So there's different people who have different social needs than I have. So but this feels very woman to me. But the nerve to have this conversation and to throw white cis men under the bus and say it's valid for you to feel fear of them or not like them or whatever. Why is it just white men that it's valid? Because you're just a chicken, and you want to just continue to play into the hierarchy of victimhood and who's bad and who's good, and oppression Olympics and patriarchy and privilege. And you couldn't bring yourself to just say men. You had to make sure that you said white men, white cis men. What was it? It was last week sometime we were talking about these Korean spas that are being taken over by trans women. And in one case where the Redux did an article, we read through the article, and they were bragging about how they got rid of like the female naked space, and now trans women can go in that space. That stuff is creepy. so why is it only cis men? Cis white men. Again, you're not an emotionally mature man. You are a female. I'm not saying that there's not men who are sensitive and who wouldn't cry in the camera like this. But I think it comes off very, very chickish to me. You guys can let me know in the comments. But this was making its rounds. Very interesting video here. But people are really noting that this person didn't know what it would be like to be a man, because obviously they're not a man, and they're surprised about how society reacts or how men just interact with each other. Maybe she's just having a different time connecting with men because men have different emotional needs than this person does, because in reality they're still a woman, and you can't change the inside. I mean, you can alter some things with hormones and whatnot, but you're still gonna be the same. Not all women are the same. I'm a very different individual, but I'm still not a man, and I still don't act like a man and have needs of a man. So last thing I want to show is this video of Daniel Penny, and to talk about his side of the subway situation. I don't know where else everyone is playing this, so I wanted to make sure that I did play it.
Multiple times a day. In this instance, I was coming from school, East Village in Manhattan, so I take the subway multiple times a day. In this instance, I was coming from school. I got out of class around 2:15, and I took the I was at J Street Metro Tech, took the Uptown F train. At 2nd Avenue, a man came on, stumbled on. He appeared to be on drugs. The doors closed, and he ripped his jacket off and threw it at the people sitting down to my left. I was listening to music at the time, and he was yelling, so I took my headphones out to hear what he was yelling. And the 3 main threats that he repeated over and over was, "I'm gonna kill you, I'm prepared to go to jail for life, and I'm willing to die." You know, this was a scary situation, and Mr. Nearly came on. He was threatening. I'm 6'2", and he was taller than me, so it was. And there's a common misconception that Marines don't get scared. We're actually taught one of our core values is courage, and courage is not the absence of fear, but how you handle fear. And you know, I was scared for myself, but I looked around. I saw women and children. He was yelling in their faces, saying these threats. I couldn't just sit still. Some people say that I was holding on to Mr. Nearly for 15 minutes. This is not true. I mean, between stops is only a couple minutes. So the whole interaction lasted less than 5 minutes. Some people say I was trying to choke him to death, which is also not true. I was trying to restrain him. You can see in the video, there's a clear rise and fall of his chest, indicating that he's breathing. I'm trying to restrain him from him being able to carry out the threats. And then some people say that this was about race, which is absolutely ridiculous. I didn't see a black man threatening passengers. I saw a man threatening passengers, a lot of whom were people of color. The man who helped restrain Mr. Nearly was a person of color. And a few days after the incident, I read in the papers that a woman of color came out and called me a hero. I don't believe that I'm a hero, but she was one of those people that I was trying to protect. We were all scared. Mr. Nearly was yelling in these passengers' faces, and they looked terrified. The reason why there was no video at the start of the altercation was because people were too afraid getting away from him, and the videos didn't start until they saw that situation was under control. I knew I had to act, and I acted in a way that would protect the other passengers, protect myself, and protect Mr. Nearly. I used this hole to restrain him, and I did this by leaving my hand on top of his head to control his body. You can see in the video there's a clear rise and fall of his chest, indicating that he was still breathing. And I'm calibrating my grip based on the force that he's exerting. And I was trying to keep him on the ground until the police came. I was praying that the police would come and take this situation over. I didn't want to be put in that situation, but I couldn't just sit still and let him carry out these threats.
So, yeah, people were saying all this all happened for 15 minutes and stuff, which that didn't sound like it made any sense. I mean, we hear more things as they come out in the trial, but there were people who said that they were grateful that he acted and called him a hero and stuff. So, people are saying that it doesn't matter how many prior arrests that Neely had. But he did say that he doesn't care about going back to jail. So, and he said he didn't care, if he died and he was threatening people's safety. I've said this before, and I'm going to be frank. I would have been grateful to Penny here that he acted, and it upsets me so much when I see videos of people on the subway, and I played some when we first talked about the story when it broke, of people who are being terrorized by folks on the subway, and people, all they're doing is recording, or they're just looking, scared themselves, and men will be around and not do anything. And there's always a chance that the crazy person could have something on them, some kind of weapon or whatever. But there was one video of a guy who just like grabbed a woman's neck, and she's just like whimpering, and people are just watching. And the one video, a guy is the guy who's recording it is like praying, and I'm just like, I appreciate that, dude. I'm like, I don't think you just sitting here praying while this woman is whimpering, and you're a man, and there's another man with his hands around a woman's neck, and now you're sharing it. I'm like, I don't think that's probably a good testament to the gospel. I don't know, in that kind of situation. I don't think it makes you look good. I would have very much preferred if people had stood up for that woman. But in the case of Penny here, if he gets, prosecuted, it doesn't seem like he obviously meant to kill him. And you have to look at how he thought, or if his actions were reasonable, and if people were grateful, I guess, in the situation that he was acting. I don't see how you can get to a point where you say that he didn't take reasonable action. And I know so many people are angry, but it wasn't meant. He didn't mean for that man to die. But I'd be grateful that he did at least subdue him if I was in that situation, to be honest with you. And I missed this article at the time. I was just scrolling through Twitter, and I found this headline this post from the New York Times. And they posted this on May 18th. Around 10 passengers observed as Daniel Penny choked Jordan Neely to death on the subway, prompting a conversation about what moral duty onlookers have to step in, even though New York law doesn't require bystanders to act when someone is in danger. I'm like, are y'all trolling? Are y'all trolling? Because Penny is the passenger who decided he was the onlooker and a passenger who decided to act, and now they want to convict him. So if you want more bystanders to stand up and do the right thing and help other people in need, going after Penny isn't the right way. Because as soon as he was arrested, there's people saying, just don't stick your neck out there, guys. Don't do it. Don't be a hero, because they're just going to arrest you. They'd rather arrest you than somebody else. There's all these crazy people on the subway doing all kinds of stuff. And the best that what New York is doing is building little, RTD2s with less capabilities to just basically take, 4K pictures of your stabbing to death and not really save you. Robots in the subways, their big plans. If you treat Good Samaritans like how they're treating Penny, you're going to have more people who are just going to stand by and do nothing. So I hate the story. I hate how it's evolving. He got a lot of money from donations from people who want him to have a good legal defense fund. I hope his lawyers are good. And hopefully he's acquitted, unless there's some crazy stuff that comes out that we're not aware of. This man seems innocent to me. But I just want to share his side of things. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. This Trump thing is really evolving, and I've got so many complicated feelings, I guess, about it. And I just wish he had done better with the documents and stuff. And he knows they hate him so much. He knows they hate him so much. He made some mistakes, guys. He made some mistakes. And I wonder how this will all go down for him and what it will mean for the midterm. I'm sorry, the general election. And well, I guess I meant to say the primary. What will happen with the primary? Again, his numbers will probably go up a little bit as more stuff kind of comes out and people keep talking about it. Maybe it'll go down, but independents still don't think they still don't like him. They thought the Bragg prosecution was a political witch hunt, and they were still basically okay with it. So in the long run, does this look good? Let's say he gets through the primary and he's a nominee, which still looks like that's the most likely option. Is he in a position where he could probably win the general election? I'm not optimistic about it, to be honest with you guys right now. But he's been doing some traveling this weekend to different places, and people still really love him. There's a clip of him at Waffle House, and people just still really adore him. He's going to be in Michigan very soon for our Lincoln Day dinner. So, people still adore him. Is it going to be enough to get him back in the White House? I don't know, but only time will tell. Only time will tell. Go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. Please make sure that you guys are leaving in your email at the website. And if you like what I do, please stop following me across different platforms on Rumble and on Twitter and etc. You never know how these social media companies will act on different stuff. The aggression that they had with some of my COVID stuff that I got hit with was crazy. Like, I know they were super serious about it, but like one of my strikes that maybe got me a 2-week was I was reporting on the Ronald McDonald House thing, how they were about the COVID, how they're treating COVID patients, like with kids and stuff. And they dinged me. I'm like, this is a real thing going on. I'm like really reporting on it. I didn't say that vaccines were fake or COVID was fake. I didn't say anything like that. But they dinged me. So to me, they are most sensitive about COVID, which probably isn't news to you guys, and then the election stuff. I think everything that I said about election stuff, I've always been able to appeal and get back. But they've been going hard after other accounts, bigger accounts, I guess. But just make sure that you guys are following across different platforms as well. And if you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website. Also, you guys can check out different merch that I have as well. God bless you guys. And again, thank you for all the birthday wishes over the weekend. I had a really good weekend. Good birthday. So thank you to you guys. Thank you to my friends and family and stuff. So God bless you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.